Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. It is, of course, it's so funny to complain about cold weather in Chicago, and yet here I am. It's cold outside, and I'm so glad to be joined in the studio by three very funny comedians. I've had the pleasure of working with all of them throughout different parts of my career. We have, of course, guest co-host Dwayne Kennedy joins us in studio, who is going to be at the Kenosha Comedy Club this weekend on Friday, as at the Wyndham Hotel, as well as the Synergy Center in Wheeling, Illinois. And I have to check that place. Is that a movie theater?
Got me.
Joe Kilgallon joins us in studio. Also one of my favorite comics. He's a neighbor who I tell this story. One of my favorite days of door knocking was when you go door knocking as a candidate, you have a list of Democrats who voted in primaries, and especially like strong Dems who vote in the last 3 or 4 primaries, and you were on the list. But I wasn't sure. I'm like, is this the Joe Kilgallon? Is it going to be Joe? Is it Joe Kilgallon? And I was like, no way. And you had a beautiful black dog. Who was excited to see me too, and Joe made his lawn like a fortress for Patti Vasquez, like lawn signs, and pointed them at the.
I still have them in my garage, I believe.
Well, I'll take this off your hand. You don't have to hold on.
I was too sentimental to throw them away.
I have a crawl space filled with hundreds,
insulation, perfect.
Yes, it is. It actually is for my mom's floor there.
Nice.
Do you have a show coming up this week?
I do. Tomorrow night I'll be at the Laughing Academy in Glenview, 8 p.m. show. It's $25 tickets, but BYOB. So
okay.
You can drink your money's worth there.
And I think yours is, again, I want to find out about the Synergy Center and the Laughing Academy. And also Scott Perlman joins us, filmmaker, comedian. When was the last time you've done comedy?
It's been a long time. Yeah. I've always been tempted. I've done things where I've been at film festivals and got to speak in front of people, and it reminds me of that old muscle, and I miss it.
Sure.
It's like I should do stuff, but I haven't had anything that I felt was worth saying on stage. So,
oh boy,
one day I will.
Me either.
Me neither.
That doesn't stop me though.
Exactly. Well, I'm sort of I dip in and out because I have 2 jobs. I have a lot going on. So people ask me, and especially during the campaign, I was door knocking constantly in Wisconsin, and you have to keep going up in order to, you can't just it's like a muscle. If you don't, keep it going, it's just. Although I will say this, I don't feel as married to my old material when I don't do I'm not going up every night.
Sometimes going up after not having been up in a while is sort of liberating.
Yeah.
Because you can't remember what you used to do, or you don't have any emotional investment in it, or I don't know. Sometimes, have you ever found that, Joe?
Yeah, I took about 3 weeks off after my daughter was born. Mm-hmm. She was born about 7 weeks ago. So I remember that first show back being like, who cares? Stakes are low.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. I'm happy to be out of the house. So it's just this is a victory in its own right.
Yeah, there is something to that, because I did a show last Saturday in Oak Park, and it was or Forest Park. It was kind of fun, and I wasn't headlining, so I just played around a little bit, tried some new material, and it was. I enjoyed that. I don't like I don't know. It's just I'm not doing. Some people are doing some politics. Are you seeing some people talk about what's going on? I mean, there are comics that are our current event comics, but because. I guess in the last couple of days, Jon Stewart has said that he's thinking about quitting again because he doesn't want to feel the pressure of whether or not he'll feel retaliation for criticizing the president.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know. I read all about what's going on in South Korea and thought, that's not too crazy to happen here. But as far as stand-up comedians attacking politics, I don't see it as much on stage.
Right.
I see a lot more in social media.
Okay.
I really do think social media kind of hurt political comedy in a way because comedy shows are at 8 o'clock at night, and everyone's just over it by the time they go out to the show. Because we have 24 news networks, we have Twitter, so it used to be, I felt like, I think you and I have talked about this, Patty, I remember in the early 2000s being like, oh, that crazy event that just happened, I can't wait to hear Chris Rock's take on it. Right. I don't have to wait anymore. I know immediately because he'll talk about it on someone's podcast or someone's show. So some people attack it a little bit. I've heard some funny stuff here and there. I'll give a shout out to Chris Higgins, a local comedian. He went up a few days after the election and said, I voted for Biden. And, like, it was just kind of funny how he threw that out there. Saying he voted for someone who wasn't even on the ticket.
Right.
But so you see people approach it, but they're doing it more in a silly manner.
Right.
Instead of more like in Lewis Black, like, let's get angry, but also laugh about it.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things working with Lewis is that he'll go after everybody, right? Everyone makes him angry about how they treat, people. Like, I remember he was doing a set at Loyola University, and someone was yelling something about Democrats, and basically it was, Democrats don't do crap for you, and all Republicans do is crap on you, in different word choice, I believe. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's an app called Goods Unite Us, right? And this is a way some folks are trying to form resistance, which is canceling conservative companies like Home Depot. We know contributes a lot of money to Republicans. Obviously a lot of pharmaceutical companies. So their Goods Unite Us lets you know which companies contribute more to Democrats. But I don't know if people are like, no one's going to stop shopping at Amazon.
Some stuff, how can you?
Right?
I mean, they're going to let you know, then what? Then so if you boycott all the companies that support Republicans, now I'm going to be hungry and naked.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and with Democrats, like, they haven't done that much because they also get a lot. Like, you'll see that, let's say, like, Walgreens. What was I looking at today? There was something, some company I looked up that was like 54% Democrat, but also then 46% contributing to Republicans. Yeah. And they really hadn't done that much as far as health care or gun violence,
Yeah. And I don't know what the numbers were for this past election, but in 2016, I had a lot of friends, because I'm a huge Cubs fan, saying, the Ricketts support Trump. And then I'm like, well, Laura Ricketts gave just as much money to Hillary as her brothers did to Trump. So that was kind of like a 50-50. I thought of that when you were saying like 54%, 46%.
Right, that's true.
So it is one of those things where it's really exhausting to live like that. But I definitely want to put as far as locally goes, I would love to put my money behind people who are good neighbors and aren't going to put up money against other people's rights either.
Speaking of which, Joe, thank you for reminding me. This weekend is the holiday trolley on the Northwest side. I'll be volunteering on the trolley, handing out candy canes and greeting people. So that's what I do in the neighborhood. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the trolley. So it's from 3 to 6 this weekend. So we go like from the Gale Street up to like Six Corners and down Irving to some of the stores down there.
I saw that, Portage Park, Jefferson Park.
So in your neighborhood, they hand out candy and stuff? Candy canes and whatnot?
Yeah, why? What?
I'm just thinking about that.
Like hot cocoa and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, one year I volunteered. They had like a Santa breakfast, at the Gale Street Inn. I don't know if they're doing that. I think no, because it's at 3, so it's a little bit later in the day. Yeah, I volunteered I do the Jefferson Park Sunday Market, so I'm part. Yeah, I do some of the neighborhood stuff.
It's just interesting the things that go on in different neighborhoods in Chicago, or don't go on.
I think we're trying. We're sort of cobbled together, because the Northwest Side is sort of like Joe lives in an area that I didn't even know was called. Is it Big Oaks or Union Ridge? I think you're Union Ridge. Have you ever heard?
No one's ever, because there's a cemetery.
I saw that on the Civil War channel. On the History Channel.
Well, that's so the cemetery near him was established during the Civil War, and they have Civil War folks that were killed in battle that were brought back to Illinois. There were prisoners, I think, from the.
I didn't even know that. Yeah. I don't really know the history of the cemetery.
I'm a dork about cemeteries. That's what
I love cemeteries too. Yeah, I love them.
Did you ever, when you were on the road, did you ever go to the cemetery nearby?
I've done that. I've wandered. That's something that I'd love to do. Anytime I'm in an old place like New Orleans, I love their cemeteries.
I just went.
That about you, bro?
Yeah, I love them.
See what we did.
Do you know the classic dad cemetery joke?
Yes, I do. Go ahead,
When you drive past the cemetery, you say to the other people in the car, how many people do you think are dead in that cemetery? And they'll probably guess like, I don't know, a couple thousand. You go, no, all of them.
So my dad's joke, very similar. He would say, we would drive by St. Albert's on Milwaukee Avenue, and he'd say, they can't bury us in there, right? And I was like, why not? He goes, because we ain't dead yet.
Yeah.
So very similar.
All right.
Is that like an Irish thing? Was it?
It must be. I heard it from my dad, I believe. He told me that.
The Irish guys like the dead cemetery jokes. Yeah. They're thinking about it, they're driving by. Because the Irish and the Mexicans think of death in a very...
Man, Catholic I didn't know guilt. This. I first saw this in L.A., well, in the area. But they do is they're like Mexicans go out to the cemeteries and sit with the dead folks all day and have a picnic and all kinds of stuff.
They bring tributes and pictures and the marigolds. Yeah. My mom, according to my mother, who was born in northern Mexico, we didn't do that where I'm from.
Okay. I mean, that's what the culture is. That's just what it is. But I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, what's going on? They're sitting out there eating and stuff.
Yeah, it's
on somebody's grave.
Well, I remember my mom would still talk to my dad after he passed because she lives downstairs from me, so I could hear her like having full conversations with him.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, I kind of get that, you know. And
did you hear him answering back?
No, that would have been interesting. That would have been very interesting.
Yeah. Then it's time to move.
But I just went to New Orleans for the first time in the spring. One of my mother's bucket list things was to take Amtrak to New Orleans, and those.
How long did that take?
Yeah. It's about, I can't remember, all I know is we got on at 7 o'clock here, it's 2 o'clock there, so whatever that is, 15 hours, right?
Yeah, and it was like 6 times as much as money as flying.
It wasn't, yes. Yeah. And I was trying to convince her to train down and fly back, but she's like, I want the vacation to last.
Yeah.
So we did it both ways. Yeah, it was, and then we got a handicapped suite, so it was a little bit bigger. I don't know if I would do it, because you have the bathroom in the room, and that's a little bit.
In a train?
In the train car, yeah. So you only have a curtain to the toilet, but the products you use to clean the toilet is significantly, there's a lot. And that train to New Orleans does not have a dining car, which I was surprised by. I mean, like a full sit down, like the trains. So when I started, I took Amtrak wherever I could.
Yeah.
With Muller, I would find gigs that were along the Amtrak lines, or else I would go as close. Like Minot, North Dakota, was 19 hours round trip, $119 in 1996 maybe, and that had a dining car, like you could with a table and serve. It was fantastic.
Like you're in an Agatha Christie movie.
It was. I loved it because you sat with other passengers and you shared stories and stuff. But so back to the cemeteries. I love this. I didn't know about some of like those, the ones that are above ground. It's not just because of the sea level, but they also basically those are crematoriums. They put a body in because it heats up so much in the summer times. It basically cremates them, and then they drop a tray down and they can put another body in there.
Oh wow!
So you got to go on some of those tours. They're
that's very cool. Yeah, in Europe they have these cemeteries with like 15 different people.
Yeah.
Like and it's like one will decompose and then they'll have the next one and the next one.
Yes.
And
same idea.
Yeah. So the cemetery where Paul McCartney supposedly got Eleanor Rigby's name on, there's a headstone and it's like 15 different names, and Eleanor Rigby is one of the names.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. So I have to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Adam Selzer. I don't know if you guys ever see on my page. He's a tour guide and a historian and an author. He's written like 25 books, both fiction and nonfiction. He's done like H.H. Holmes books, Abraham Lincoln books, but he does cemetery tours. So he has the history of Graceland Cemetery. He's doing the sequel, part 2, I guess. And I'm so excited because I'm on the tour now. Not me, I didn't like pre-buy.
Yeah.
So, have I told you my Minnie Minoso story? I know I've told the audience. So Adam was talking about they just put in the headstone. I don't know what I haven't seen it yet, but they just installed it recently for Minnie Minoso. Who was it? 6 decades he played every
5.
It was 5 decades.
Yeah.
He played the Sox would let him come in and kind of just as a gimmick, kind of, and a tribute to him, let him play. So he was at Norwood Park when I was 10 years old. I played Little League Baseball, and all the kids were clamoring, like they all had their hands out. They gave us baseball cards for him to sign. So I was the only girl on my team. There were all these boys, and he spotted me, reached over the boys, asked for my card, and he goes, "Don't ever let them tell you can't play." And so now Adam Selzer tells that story, and I found the card with the signature so he can put it in the book.
Oh, that's so
I'm
cool.
super excited about that.
That's very cool.
So you should check out Adam Selzer's work. He does a mini tour every single day at 10 a.m. Mysterious Chicago, folks. And that's some of the stuff that's happening. We do, since I have a room full of comics and writers. I talked a little bit about the CEO that was assassinated yesterday.
Oh man!
And I had not followed any of it. I just saw the news story in the morning. I went to work. It wasn't online. And then Matt, one of our listeners, called and said that, I get our rage against the healthcare system, but we should. And I mentioned that he had been in an investors meeting saying, we need to start investing in people, not treating them when they're ill, but preventing illness, right, was something he had said. I just want to put that out there. But have you seen the way people are like... I
heard they just make a lot of jokes about it.
Oh, boy.
A lot of jokes.
A lot of jokes. Like Lori Kilmartin's got... and she's dark to begin with, so that's kind of her milieu. But yeah, even my friend Elliot, wrote something about, basically, I don't understand why he did it. No, I understand why he did it, kind of a thing. I don't support it, but I understand why. But it's like our whole healthcare system has become a mess. And
they haven't caught the guy yet, correct?
No, and he wrote on the bullets.
Yeah.
He put a lot of time into that murder. A lot of thought. He had to be surveying that, surveilling that cat.
It was definitely planned for a long time.
Yeah.
It's first degree for sure.
Yeah.
I did read that health insurance, United Way, correct? Is
it's United, I think, yeah.
United
Healthcare, yeah.
United, number one for denying people's claims.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, like the cat that shot him.
Like 32% of people who file claims, they deny.
Yeah, that's what I had wondered if it was disgruntled customer.
Well,
Probably.
Pretty much now, I mean, because I had to have surgery last year, and they denied for like the stupidest reason, and then we just resubmitted, and they were like, fine. Right? But their first go-to is...
Why did they deny you? Because you needed surgery?
Because I needed surgery, exactly.
Yeah, we don't play that.
It's so weird to talk about this in front of my colleagues. So I had breast reduction last year. I was a 34K. I don't think everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi. See, everybody's like, what? Why would you do that?
I'm trying not to, do things. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be modern.
Yeah. It was not fun to play Little League baseball.
Right?
Yeah, I had a lot of back. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it was. And so one of the things they said, has she tried some ointment or a better bra? Were the two things. That was the suggestion from the insurance company.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I had my appendix burst in Bucharest, Romania.
Okay.
And I was in more pain than I've ever been in my life. I got in a cab, went to a hospital, and I had to have emergency surgery. And I was barely able to communicate with anyone there. I woke up, was still alive, and had to stay there for over a week, and they gave me a bill when it was all finished. So emergency surgery and a week in a hospital. Guess how much money it was?
$2,000.
Yeah, right around $1,000.
Oh my God! For everything, right? Because here it would be about over 6 figures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it was like, go find an ATM, get some cash, and you're done.
Wow. How much a baby cost in this country?
Yeah.
I have a 7-week-old daughter at home, and thank God for health insurance, because if not, that's $80,000 or something crazy like that.
Man, you would have had to just leave at the hospital.
A fire station.
Yeah.
They still accept it at a fire station.
I'm pretty sure that Steve lost his job because of Declan, because Declan cost at least $250,000 to save his life, because he wasn't breathing when he was born. Wow. They had to put him on life support. They had to. He was on life support for a few days. He was on oxygen for 28 days, and all the specialists, all the testing and stuff like that, and then immediately physical therapy, speech therapy, all the things, and a company's going to see the long, path of how much this is going to cost, and
right.
Some of these places were charging $1,500 a week for therapies and things like that. So and then,
so what happened to Steve?
He got fired in 2008. He has been a stay-at-home dad and full-time caregiver since 2008, because I love what I do.
Yeah, it's great that he's able to do that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And we just paid for our I wish I could have gone back and done this differently, but I paid for Cobra for almost the entire 18 months. And then I was at Zany's. Jaime, the bartender. Do you remember Jamie?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he told me, I didn't know about All Kids. And All Kids provides insurance to families who don't have Lady Beast. I had no idea, and so I was able to get him on All Kids, and he's still on the state health insurance plan.
Is?
Declan is.
Oh, Declan. Jaime passed away.
Jaime passed away.
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah,
no, I thought he did. Yeah.
He was so sweet.
He was a nice cat.
He was. I was rehearsing a set for TBS, and it had to be all clean, obviously. And he goes, "I like it when you work clean. I don't like it when you talk dirty." I was like, "Yeah, you and Bert, I got it."
Oh boy!
Did you ever get that from any? Did you ever get you're too dirty from anybody?
I always worked clean because I thought there was I was making it too hard on myself. I don't know why I did. If I could go back in time, I would have been filthy. There's no point in I wasn't on television. I was just in clubs where people wanted to hear filthy things. But I was like, no, I'm going to try and keep this highbrow. Yeah. And it did no good for me at all.
You said things like indubitably.
Have you ever gotten that as a note?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, but I've told people. I remember I remember starting out and hearing a couple of people say you swear too much and things like that. And I haven't tried being cleanish for a little while, and I just felt like a phony up there.
Well, that's
it's
the
not
thing.
me. It's just, it felt fake.
We talked a little bit about St. Charles yesterday. There was a manager named Gary, and he and Billy Gardell got into the biggest argument about Billy's martini. Gary was telling Gary, who you didn't even know who Gary is. Do you remember? Yes, you remember Gary. He was just.
I'm sure I met Gary.
He was just.
He's just a guy named Gary.
Yeah, and yelling at Billy Gardell about how he was never gonna be famous because he swore too much.
Those cats would always crack me when I first started. Because here's the thing, like I curse more. I'm not super blue, but I curse more on stage than off stage. And that's just influenced by prior, whatever it is. But also sometimes it's funny.
Yeah.
Right? The curse is funny. And sometimes it helps you to emphasize something, whatever.
Yes, because you can try it clean. Sometimes you try it clean and you're like, that's not the same.
Yeah, all good writing is supposed to be strong choices, and swear words are strong choices. And so it just amplifies what you're saying.
Yeah.
Also helps when you're conveying an emotion.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want the people in the audience to feel what you were feeling during whatever joke you're doing. Like, especially if you're talking about a situation you're in or whatever. So if you're frustrated, it helps to use words that we all use when we're frustrated. I told someone once, because the whole thing where it's like, they said, well, if you were clean, you could reach a wider audience. And then I said, oh, yeah, because that's the people I want coming to my shows. Yeah. The people who get offended by the F word.
Exactly.
Oh, no, you swore. My heavens. They're fun audience members. That's exactly what you want at a comedy club. People whose virgin ears bleed over any four-letter word they may or may not hear.
Right. Yeah. We came to judge.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the worst. I remember I was, when if you ever had people walk out on your show and then you can't let it go. I was at the very beginning of my show. I was doing a show called Tequila and Shamrocks. It was like a solo show, and it was in a nice theater, the Chicago Center for Performing Arts, where we used to have some fun shows.
Yeah, over there on Green Street.
Yes,
like Chicago Avenue on Green Street.
That it's a church
right off of Halstead.
It's a church.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was like 777 North Green Street. It's an easy address to remember.
It was so great, and it had different venue, like different spaces. Like,
that's not where you had the fundraiser, is it? No, that's the Briar.
The
Greenbrier.
Something like that. The green room. The green. I can't remember. Yeah, but it's on Lincoln
that's
Avenue.
on Lincoln. Yeah. Okay.
But I walked two people, and like in the first 5 minutes, and then I couldn't let it go. And then I found out later it was because they complained to the theater that they didn't realize it was going to have adult content.
You know what's so funny?
It's called Tequila and Shamrocks. No, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. But what did they think they were getting?
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, this is no bullying, but so much of what determines the kind of artist you are or going to be is your appetite for and tolerance for risk and actually disappointing people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I wrestle with this as well. It's like if you're scared, like, I don't want to say this because I don't want to potentially offend somebody, but then you also risk not getting to the funniest thing you can get to at the expense of maybe potentially a couple of people or everybody. Yeah. I'm sure you have heard these stories, like Bill Hicks when he would come to town, and what's the cat that ran the Fallout, the Funny Firm, Len Ostrovich, and Len was a champion of Bill, and my cousin used to go see Bill early days, and she would sit there, and Bill would run everybody. He out of the room. Yeah. It'd just be him and my cousin at the end of the night. You know what I mean?
I would have loved that.
Yeah. But I was going to say is that he had that kind of I heard
Constitution.
Stories. Yeah, that he would, like the comment cards, I hate this. He would save them.
Oh, sure.
So, you know what I mean?
Do you have any of yours? I have one.
What?
From Zanies in Mount Prospect, a comment card. They said that your comedians are funny as usual, but you really need a new MC. She's just not funny. And then they ran out of room and they turned it sideways to finish at all.
That's kind of funny.
I got it at not funny. But
why did they have to break off into chapters?
Right? And Monica Carter used to read hers. And like and I was like, why are you doing this? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What were you saying?
I was going to say that I once got a letter from a club manager. I did a show one nighter in Oil City, Pennsylvania.
I did that
and
wrong.
it went so bad. I just told the audience, you guys are not my demographic, and they ended up writing me a letter saying, you're never welcome to come back.
Carol Pennington.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, she used to book Oil City. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was Yoder. Yoder did Youngstown. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole list of all the...
But I think you got to, I mean, that's the thing. When you were saying that, Patty, that can like just handcuff you, and constrict you. I'm not talking to you, anybody. I'm talking to myself, really. If you're scared to offend people. Do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that comes back to politics, too. Let me take a break here and continue our conversation. We're in studio with filmmaker, writer, producer, director Scott Perlman, whose documentary, along with Dwayne Kennedy and Michael Alexander, is now available. I'm featured in it, as is our Hannibal and Marsha Warfield.
Deon Cole. A lot of great Chicago comics.
That's available wherever you stream your entertainment. And if you have a Prime membership, you can stream it for free. Dwayne Kennedy will be at the Kenosha Comedy Club this Friday. That's at the Wyndham Hotel, and we also have you'll also be at the Synergy Center on Saturday for a show, and Joe Kilgallon will be at the Laugh Factory tomorrow and at the Laughing Academy on Saturday night.
No, I'll be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night.
Laughing Academy, only the Laughing Academy. It's on a Thursday?
What's today?
Today's Wednesday, isn't it?
No, it's Thursday.
My God. I have to go.
You had me thrown off.
Oh, my God. I have to start all over. Can we start the show? This isn't the show I meant to have, everybody. Let's take a quick break here. Joe will be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow, Friday. That's Friday. Where is it? Which suburb is that?
It's in Glenview.
In Glenview. Excellent. And the website?
Is thelaughingacademy.com.
I believe so. Well, we'll just Google it. You'll find it. Joe Kilgallon. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Out Chicago.
How are you doing,
I am immersing myself in as many positive experiences, i.e. theater, music, whatever I can do.
Look, I keep going back to doing your joy homework.
Yes.
During this point, joy is a practice. And you have to actively seek out the things that bring you joy.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820. Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
There's no better way to defend democracy in front of your fascist Republican friends than with a cold progressive beer from the Minocqua Brewing Company of Wisconsin. So head on over to Beer on the Wall in Schaumburg, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, Captain Jack's Beverages in Worth, or the Wilmette Market to pick up a 4-pack or couple 2-3 of MAGA Tears IPA today. Don't forget to drink and vote responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm in studio with a room full of comedians and all kinds of content creators. We have in studio with us Joe Kilgallon, who will be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night, and he also has a couple of podcasts out there. Tell us about your podcasts.
Yes, I do a podcast with fellow comedian Jonah Jerkins. It's called Let's Get Dumb, and we basically ask really dumb questions of our audience and of ourselves, and then we'll make really dumb lists. We'll do like top 5 lists, which we just argue, and there's very few brain cells required to enjoy this podcast.
I'm trying to remember. I was just watching it because we're looking for a producer for a podcast. So I was asking you about equipment and that kind of stuff. So I was watching one of them, and now I can't remember what the guy has decorated in his house and about whether that's why he's not attractive to women. But it might have been a while.
Oh, it was the Mountain Dew clip.
Yes, it was Mountain Dew. He's got like 30.
Our producer collects Mountain Dew cans. They're unopened Mountain Dew cans. And they were arguing big time over that, and everyone was commenting, I've never seen me so quiet. Because I wasn't interrupting. I was just sitting there letting these two argue about Mountain Dew.
Who collects empty Mountain Dew? I mean, he does, but
I think they're unopened even.
So full cans of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, he's a big fan of that.
So different styles, different eras?
Yeah, because Mountain Dew will have like specialty cans where it's like Mountain Dew Co-Red this, and some video game character will be on or something like that. So he gets like the novelty limited edition cans. And while they were arguing about that, what was great was that Jonah was like, that's the reason you can't get a girl. He goes, you really think that's the reason? He's like, no, it's your personality. Which is just a good way to end the whole debate.
It's one of the reasons.
One of the things that occurred to me during the campaign was both Vice President now-elect J.D. Vance and Vice Presidential candidate Tim Walz both drank Diet Mountain Dew, right? It was like they would talk about how it was part of their routine or the energy. I'm like, really? So I'm like, what does this stuff taste like? I'm just curious. It is awful.
It's horrific.
Oh, my God. I mean, I what?
Yeah, although, I mean... The diet is horrible. The
sugar ones.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Not to sound all.
Yeah.
You know, meth lavish, but
I'm just saying, even the vodka didn't make that better. Yeah.
And I don't drink it that often, but it's kind of decent.
Well, they must honestly drink Mountain Dew, because if you're going to lie about drinking Mountain Dew, whose vote are you courting? The meth lab community. Right?
I was very happy they canceled each other out with that issue.
Yeah, that's the uneducated whites.
Oh my God,
that's the Mountain Dew crowd.
Yeah,
man.
You were mentioning Bill Hicks and walking, because Bill Hicks did a lot of social commentary. I mean, he went after people who were in advertising. He was brilliant, and he would do silly stuff too. It was always fun to watch, like him kind of go off on other. His imagination was fantastic.
Yeah.
And talk, like he has a bit about people who wear the crucifix, and like but would you wear a rifle? What's weird about that, around Jackie O, hey, thinking of Jack, right? And but now they do wear rifles on there. I mean, like, it's so bizarre. I just realized
real life has become satire and parody. All the things that people used to parody. Now that's actual life.
It's and he talked about billionaires and corporations, running our lives and manipulating us, and like we've kind of known that for a long time, and just been like, yeah, well, whatever. I guess as long as I can watch, America's Got Talent.
Yeah, Carlin talked about all that stuff too. He was everything that he said 30 years ago is completely relevant right now.
Yeah, he went from being a comic to being a prophet.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I like George Carlin more now than I ever have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like moved way up. Like I would even, put it maybe in a different category, because I like him as much as Pryor in a different way.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's such one of those questions I get asked a lot by people who aren't in our business. Who are your favorite comedians of all time? And I will often say Carlin and Pryor, and they kind of look at me thinking, well, with the big age gap, they were big before you were born and all that stuff. I was like, look, there's a reason. There's some people will just always be Mount Rushmore, and I think those two are up there.
I agree.
It's like saying, Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan are the greatest guitar players ever. Some things just stand the test of time, and those two always will.
And Cosby would have been there for me. I can't stand the sound of his voice, but man, some of his I saw him live in Rapid City, and he did an hour and 45 minute set.
Sitting down, right?
Oh my God! Yeah. It was like I hate you so very much. Yeah. But it wasn't even. We knew the rumors, but it was before all of this came out, like a couple of years. And there were two comics that were walking him out on stage for the festival for the Gilda's Laugh Fest.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to go out, and they were radio hosts, they were supposed to welcome everybody and then say, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Cosby. Instead, he put his arms in theirs and walked out with them, and the crowd went crazy, and he turned to them, he goes, hear that applause? It'll never be for you.
Whoa.
Oh, jeez.
And that was when I was absolutely done. I didn't know about that till after the show. I didn't want to go. Like all the other comics want to go.
I've heard a lot. I don't know if you all have heard, but like a lot of beyond just the serial raping.
Yeah.
But I mean, just untoward behavior. I heard somebody tell me one time there was some comedian that he was just blessing out because he wasn't as successful as he should have been for where he was for the length of time he had been doing comedy. He should have been more successful. Like, how can you gauge what you're talking about?
I've had that argument. Go ahead.
Oh, he used to chastise Eddie Murphy for being
dirty.
Murphy,
Martin Lawrence. He put it in Raw that Bill Cosby called him, right? And it's like, I've had a comic tell me, like, get mad at me, and we had an argument, and he said that I should be more successful. I was just like, who are you, and what do you know about my life?
Exactly. Yeah. And here's the thing too about doing comedy in Chicago is that unless you leave Chicago, we always talk about this, like Chicago is a great place to get good, but you're not going to likely get famous. You're going to have to leave Chicago to do that. But if you like doing comedy in Chicago and you're primarily here, then there's a greater likelihood that you won't get famous.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's just how it goes.
Yeah, that's the trade-off.
And in a certain context, someone saying you should be more famous than you are, is sort of a compliment because there are so many random weird things that go into someone becoming famous,
right?
And it's kind of out of your control. So, so if someone was like said to me, I thought more people should have watched the thing you did, or you could take that as a compliment. But if someone's yelling at you saying it, I could see how that would be a little different.
It was a list of things he had. We were friends, and he was upset that I was telling him stories. My mom. He was just like, I don't want to hear about your mom anymore, whatever. I was trying to write material about Declan, which ends up now being the shirt that I sell. Just because you can talk doesn't mean you should, right? But I was working on the material. Thank you. I was working on the material, and he goes, and it was a Thursday night, and I just put like 2 or 3 minutes in the middle of the set, and he goes, I was in the back of the room, and you didn't get a laugh for like 4 minutes, and he said, I wanted to punch you in the face. Right, and he later changed the story. I called my friends right away, and I was like, "If this happened, like, guys don't do this about your material." No, this was a total thing.
Sometimes I want to punch myself in the face.
Right? Yeah, I get that feeling. Have you ever had a show so bad that you could still taste it? I can still taste some of the bad show. There was one night I did a Louis C.K. had done the first 2 shows. I was his MC, and then I had to headline the 3rd show. But there were people who didn't know he wasn't doing the 3rd show. Oh my God, they hated me so much. I walked back to the condo, which was right across the street from the Nashville Zanies. I went to the fridge and I grabbed 2 beers because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get up for the second one. I just felt like, oh my God, terror. I can still taste. Can you still other shows that you can think of that?
No, I'm amazing at what I do. So, there's definitely been a few. It's the worst when you're doing a show that you have to drive out for. I did a show in Midlothian, Illinois once. Aptly named place, I feel like. You just kind of loathe being there. No offense to anyone in Midlothian, but yes, offense if you were at that show. And I it's like it was a 45-hour-long drive. The show was awful. Everything about it was terrible. One of those shows where they set up the stage in front of the bathroom for some weird reason. So people are like walking past you. It was just a nightmare. And then you have to sit in that drive on the whole ride back.
You have to marinate in the...
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Can you remember any of the... Because here's what I learned to do, was to then take mental pictures of the really good shows, like the golden shows. That's what I've taught myself to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, honestly, no. I mean, I don't let it sit with me really that long if it's a bad show. It's humiliating in the moment. But then also at some point I've learned to just, you know what, this is going to be over in a little while.
Yes.
And then it'll be another show.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes, actually, I don't know if you've ever done this or you've ever done this, is that sometimes it's like, man, let's just see how bad this can get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's just see what happens.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've seen Slagle do that too.
Yeah.
He one night he demanded the crowd either walk or give him a standing ovation, and that he would not get off the stage until they did. He did an hour 40.
Wow, where at?
St. Charles Zanies.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That was, oh my God. And they finally, like the last 4 people gave him a standing ovation so they could go home. The waitresses were not. That was the thing that always killed me. Do you have any mental pictures of like the nights where you're like, or have you been able to like?
Yeah.
You do? All right.
Yeah, like early on, I was doing a room, and this is an embarrassing story to say, and I'm not comfortable saying it, so I was doing a room where I was the only white person in the room, and I was very new, and I had my clean, stupid jokes like I
about
bought
the Negro problem.
I bought a sports car, but I can't drive it because my girlfriend won't teach me how to drive stick. Like just stupid things like that, and nobody was laughing. And I said, thinking it meant something totally different. This is as bad as when Gallagher performed at the Apollo, except I don't have any watermelon.
Yeah. So, to be clear, you did it in a black. It was
in a
crowd?
black crowd.
All right then.
Yeah,
yeah.
But I was just thinking if I had things to smash, like some bells and whistles, and it was interpreted completely different, and all I saw was just giant eyeballs staring at me.
Oh my God.
That was the worst. And
what do you mean giant eyeball? Because it was so dark.
I can't believe you said that.
You're still on the road, brother. You know, from that day to this.
That's
okay.
Disappointing.
Where was that? The Cotton Club? Where was it?
No, I think it was.
Don't try to compete. I would step back from this one.
Yeah, no, I don't
Let Dwayne win this round.
The Bigot Barn?
Where were you at?
Yeah, no, I was at the Bigot Barn. Yeah,
it was at Barn.
Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering. Anyway,
what there were
was
a
it
couple.
Jokes and Notes? I
don't think Jokes and Notes was open. Was it open in the 90s?
It was the upstairs room of the Fallout.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Right. A lot of times, yeah, because a lot of black folks would come there. I remember. Okay.
Oh, my God. Now, had you started when it was the Firm before it became the Fallout?
No, it was the Fallout. I performed at the Improv the very last night they were open.
Yeah.
And I saw Dwayne. It was the first time I saw Dwayne. He gets up on stage. This is how I get him back.
Nice.
And he just is like looking at the audience for the first 45 seconds, doesn't say a word. And everybody's laughing hysterically. He's just glancing at people. And the room just is just building in laughter. It was the most crazy thing I'd ever seen in my life. And, yeah, that was the first time I'd ever seen him and the last time the Improv was open.
Wow, you were there for closing night. That was a great room. That was
before your time, Joe?
Yeah. It was a 500 seater. They had a balcony. That was amazing.
On Wells and what? What was the?
It was right behind
in Grand,
Illinois and Grand. It's between I think.
Wow.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ooh, man.
That was
what
beautiful.
happened? I always want to ask people
why is the papering the room?
The boom, just the bubble burst.
Yeah,
huh?
because you had the Improv, you had the Firm. I never performed at the Firm or the Fallout, and it was funny because I did the Improv and I was just open micing and stuff like that, and then I went down to do my audition at Zany's. I couldn't believe how tiny that room was, having spent so much time at the Improv. Like that was my first club.
Oh,
Zany's. I walked in. I'm like, is there another room? Is there another building to this? What is happening here?
And it's all long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it could be a bookstore.
Yeah, I used to call it like a truck stop in the city.
Yeah.
But
it was so strange.
Yeah, but oh man. The Improv when it was on Wells, oh boy, it was fantastic.
They started papering the room. They just had cold calling, just like trying to give away parties of 10 and trying to invite people in, and like people who didn't, then they find out they have a 2-drink minimum, and
and they were giving out, like, one of the two clubs had a buffet, the other one was giving away pizza. It was just whatever they could to get people into the room.
Do you think if the Improv was there now, for some reason I think it would have a better chance of survival, because now so many comedians have the social media followings that they would bring people that would pay.
And it's a higher traffic area than Zany's and the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
I would think down there by all the hotels.
Yeah, I was sad when that place closed.
Yeah, and it's sort of connected with the theater row and everything, and so it's kind of like a neat entertainment hub.
That's a great location. I'm surprised.
Comedy Bar is there.
Comedy Bar is not too far from there.
Right down the street.
It's one of those things, too, where I'm always curious, being a student of history with Chicago comedy history. Because I've heard stories. I think I remember telling you this before I really even knew you. I was starting out doing stand-up, and you were on WGN, your old show, or I should have your name.
No, it's fine. I go back and forth. That's okay.
Okay, that's fine. And you were talking to some comics who I can't remember for the life of me, and one of them said you could be a full-time comedian in the mid to late 80s or even early 90s in Chicago without having to leave the city.
Yeah.
He said there was 8 or like 12 full-time clubs in the city, or another 8 in the suburbs, or vice versa, and that's 20 clubs. You work them twice a year, full weekends. That's 40 weekends. Then you might go up to Milwaukee or Detroit, but you could really just be here and get a pretty decent living.
We got in right at the bottom. When the bottom fell out, if you want to do comedy and you really want to know if you want to do it, you got to get in when it's not. I mean, it was ice. It was so cold by the time we got in. I mean, like, there was good nights, but
we got in at the worst point.
Yeah.
And you hear these stories about like people getting paid in mounds of cocaine and things like that, and we were like, as you said, like getting $17 a show.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bert. Let me take a quick break here. We're hanging out in studio with comedian Dwayne Kennedy, guest co-hosting with me today, and everybody is just guest co-hosting. We're all hanging out together. together. Dwayne Kennedy will be at the Kenosha Comedy Club at the Wyndham Hotel on Friday night, and at the Synergy Center on Saturday in Wheeling. The film Out of the Loop, I don't know why I said it that way. I wanted to make sure I got all the words right. Out of the Loop. It right. The documentary on Chicago comedy is available wherever you stream your entertainment, and that is a film that was started by comedian Michael Alexander and then completed by our filmmakers Dwayne Kennedy and Scott Perlman. And Joe Kilgallon will be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night. And you can get tickets for that online. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We'll keep driving it home with me, Patti Vasquez, in a moment.
The Hal Sparks Radio Program.
I have been struggling to find a way to use AI in my life at all because I'm a creative person. I don't need it to be creative on my behalf. I understand why marketing people are like, write me some sort of dumb copy for this terrible product I don't need.
Every time I see an AI option, it's like, oh, click this AI. It'll make it longer. And I'm like, I just put a bunch of word vomit in there. I can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Hal Sparks, Saturdays from 11 to 1 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And we have in studio with us filmmaker, writer-director Scott Perlman. You can find Out of the Loop on all your streaming entertainment providers. So we have Dwayne Kennedy in studio and Joe Kilgallon. It's all comics. We're all comedians. And I just think it's funny that Joe's like, tell me about the history of... Well, because I've been doing this for 31 years. So, I mean, you're not wrong. Because I was telling this the other day. My son, who's a junior in college, he was reading about doing research on Gore v. Bush. And he was like, what was that like?
I realized all three of you laughed when I asked that question, and I'm like, I must have sounded like, tell me more, Papa. You know?
It's fine. But so to that, like, I started out as a political comic. I wanted to be a political comedian, and I was terrible at it. I just didn't have the confidence. To your point, like, you have to want to be able to take the heat of what you and stand behind it. That was something you taught me years ago. Is like stop apologizing for your material. But I was on stage the night of the election between Gore v. Bush, and nobody cared. Like I kept coming down, and I was like, he won Florida, and I come back down, I was like, they lost Florida. Like, nobody cared. Not knowing at that moment, like the sort of historic moment we were in of the hanging chads.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, oh no, I'm gonna forget his name. He was like the most. I can see him in my mind, but he has the most Letterman appearances. Kind of the quirky. Oh no, I should.
Kevin Meaney,
Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh my God, you guys.
We're just throwing names.
Yeah, I know you are.
Slappy White.
I have to Google it. But we would be, and a lot of comics were coming into town that month in December, and November and December when we still didn't know. I think David Tell was in. We all hung out at the Old Town Ale House, which. This brings me. I wanted to tell you this story because we were talking about my purse yesterday from Rep Chai, a little local promotion there, and that'll be one of the stops on the holiday trolley this weekend. You can go to the Jefferson Park Forward to find out more, or the Six Corners Chamber of Commerce, or the Jefferson Park Chamber of Commerce. We're all working together. So the owner essentially was a regular customer of Rep Chai, and the former owner. They got friendly and stuff, and eventually, this is a long story short. She said, "Hey, would you be interested in buying this business?" And that's Marion Hess, who now owns it.
She's great.
She's awesome.
I've met her several times, and I like the previous owner a lot too. They did me a favor. When I decided to move back to Chicago from LA. At the time, LeBron James was at Game 7 of the World Series wearing a shirt that said Cleveland or Nowhere. Oh. So I asked them if they can make me a shirt that says Chicago or Nowhere to look just like the LeBron shirt. And they were like, well, normally we get orders in batches, but yeah, we'll do it for you. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. Really appreciate that. Oh. And then they threw in a onesie because my son was just born that said Chicago or Nowhere on it as well.
See?
That's cool. Yeah.
See, that's wonderful. And so, to bring it back to Old Town Ale House, which is this great old dive bar with ridiculous paintings of naked people with Rob Blagojevich and Sarah Palin. Have you been to the...
Oh, yeah. I used to go all the time. I don't not anymore.
Was it someplace you ever hung out, Scott?
No,
never.
Did,
yeah.
No.
It's and they actually had at one point the Zanies Waitresses, a new portrait of the Zanies Waitresses from like the late 90s.
I'll be right back.
It's not up there anymore. Oh. But the same thing. They basically were like, who wants to buy the bar? And sold it to one of their regular customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
When did that
same
happen?
thing. I want to say like over a decade ago, because Patricia Nelson, who used to bartend at Zanies, she had considered buying it too.
What?
Yeah.
With what?
You tip really well. Did you not know that?
But
all the money she's been skimming over the years.
Boy. Well, that was something I heard about at the Improv, but I probably shouldn't go into that. At any rate, Jake Johansson would be the comedian I was trying to remember.
Oh, Jake Johansson.
I knew it was like like a JJ kind of a name. Yeah, Jake Johansson. He's great.
Yeah,
but
Jake
I remember
Johansson.
being up till 4 a.m. with him at Old Town Ale House. He was like wide-eyed, couldn't believe this was happening. Like, this isn't a democracy if the Supreme Court takes it away. Yeah, all this stuff. And you're like, because people talk about being angry about Hillary in 2016. I'm still angry about Gore v. Bush.
Yeah, I know. I am too.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people angry that they feel like Bernie got the primary taken from him by Hillary.
Yeah, a lot of people are salty about that. I
Still am a Bernie fan. I wasn't salty about that because I think what hurt Bernie was just the calendar.
Yeah.
And I understand if people were salty from the media coverage, I could get that. And I still think the 2016 election overall, the media coverage is something that there one day will be 100 documentaries about, because when you think about it, and this has become modern politics, Trump has been a brand name since the 80s, Hillary's been a brand name since the early 90s, and that's where all the attention went. So nobody else really had a chance. Nobody on the Republican side had a chance in their primaries, because everyone's like, I can't believe it's Trump. I can't believe he's even running. Yeah, and then Hillary, she had it right away for the same reason.
Yeah, they spent so much time saying how ridiculous Trump's campaign was and giving him so much airtime, it validated him.
Yes.
It made him real by saying how ridiculous he was.
And then they did it again for the last several years by basically every time he would say something, like we talk about the AP News, that it would always be Trump said this, and not like even say, well, and that's not true, or that's clearly a lie, or without any foundation to say that.
Right.
And like it was
right. Just not right. Clearly identifying him as a liar and a sociopath.
Right, and not amplifying the successful aspects of what the Biden administration had accomplished.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, then.
It's very disturbing. No, you should. Like the Bush Gore thing is still a crazy thing because people forget about that.
Yeah.
It was a while ago now, but still.
Yeah, Griffin was the guy who got fired for masturbating during a meeting. Tobias, what was his name?
Oh, yeah.
He wrote a book about Gore v. Bush.
Oh,
Tobin, right?
Jeffrey Tubin.
Yeah.
Didn't
His Tubin. He was Tubin.
Didn't keep his Tubin.
He was talking to Tubin. Oh boy, keep his Tubin. All right, let's take a quick break here, and we'll continue our conversation with. I just looked up and there's something on my. Why does it say you suck? Is that music on my board? I have to figure out what I want to know what this is. You suck.
Is it that same person that wrote you that note those years ago?
No, it's not my text screen. All right. I have these are like sound effects, I think, but I don't know how to play that one. I'm curious now. Okay, anyway, I got distracted. See how I'm like the dog from Up. Squirrel. Let's take a quick break here with my guests, Joe Kilgallon, Scott Perlman, and Dwayne Kennedy. We'll continue our conversation. And we also have Matt McNeil, host of the Matt McNeil Show that airs here weeknights at 9 o'clock. He'll be on at 6:30. More after this.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses. She's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. We want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, as we continue to drive it home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal in Chicago. And of course, you can watch us streaming anywhere in the world on Facebook and on Twitter, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Actually, let's do that. And you can also tune in app on any device you have that streams that. Are you guys? So Joe Kilgallon joins us in the studio. Comedian Joe Kilgallon, who'll be appearing at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night, and Scott Perlman, who's a writer-producer and also worked with Dwayne Kennedy and Michael Alexander on the film Out of the Loop, a documentary on Chicago comedy, and Dwayne Kennedy, who's appearing at the Kenosha Comedy Club tomorrow night in Kenosha, as well as Saturday night at the Synergy Center in Wheeling. And I just mentioned Twitter. I haven't gone on. I deleted it from all my devices, but I'm just leaving it there. Have you guys now, Joe? Are you on all the platforms or more on Instagram?
I deleted the Twitter app, so the account's still there, but I haven't gone on it in 3-4 a month now. I want to say.
Yeah, I want to say.
I've been messing with Blue Sky Social a little bit. It seems pretty fun over there. But as far as posting stand-up comedy clips, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, although I'm not as active on TikTok as I once was.
Yeah, people are sending me notes. Like, if I don't post something, they're like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Yeah. I'm not on social media as much as it's been just crazy. I just don't have anything to say.
Hey,
there.
Joe, what's your procedure like on social media? Do you post clips of your stand-up, your bits, or do you post crowd work, or what do you post? Because I'm trying to do that more. But
great question. I do a mix. I don't like how oversaturated with crowd work clips. It feels like crowd work clips are a lot of people have made a great living out of it. But I'm trying to fight against that a little bit because I don't want to train the audience in thinking, let's shout weird things out all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's boring. I've got friends who post a lot of crowd work clips, and I'll be scrolling, and I'll see them, and they're immediately like, what do you do for a living? How long have you two been dating?
That's not funny?
No, yeah. It's really, it gets so old. Right. So the only type of crowd work clips I will post are when... Because, you'll talk to the crowd a little bit, but, like, a joke is created off of the interaction, So, like, I'll have some things like that could be kind of fun. Like, I was talking to these Australian guys at Comedians You Should Know, which is a show in downtown Chicago, and they were really cool, and I just noticed that there was, like, 3 guys, 3 girls, and they all looked like they were models. They all looked like Chris Hemsworth and Margot Robbie. And so then I started poking fun at England, being like, I don't get this country. They took all their hottest people and sent them to this faraway land where they could get this golden skin and, tanned all year round. Yeah. Where it was like, I know it was a penal colony, but what kind of punishment is that? You stole a loaf of bread. Get away from rainy England and go over to this Australia where there's beautiful beaches and kangaroos. Yeah. So, that's
fun when
that
you
was
find
just a
something.
joke off. Yeah. And then I remember talking to Croatian woman, and she was really cool, and we were just having a laugh about geography. It was like a geography riff. So in my head, I'm like, I'm never doing this joke again. It only works in the moment, but it worked as a clip.
Yeah.
Because Croatia's geography is hilarious. They take all of the coast and then give Serbia this little sliver where it's like you could get a little beach, but we have all the rest of it.
Wow.
And so, I mean, not to get into political with that, but it was just kind of funny to talk about. And then she was laughing like, yeah, it is hilarious.
Wow.
Because they have this whole country right here, and then they have all the coast, like this sliver of coast that goes down for like 2,000 miles, and poor Serbia's over here like, can we just touch the water a little bit? They're like, no. You go work on free throws.
Yeah.
Yes, it's when you find things. I think and Dwayne and I have talked about this a little bit, in that we do have to evolve, and with social media and things like that, because we mentioned the people that inspired us were George Carlin and Richard Pryor, and this has been said before. I never said, remember that great crowd work that Pryor or Carlin did? No, they did material.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever see? I'm sure you've seen Live on Sunset Boulevard.
On Sunset Strip.
Sunset Strip, yes. Yeah. Where he he went out, he tried flipping the material, he freaked out and walked off stage.
Oh, right. The first night he bombed.
Yeah, he bombed he didn't just bomb. He walked off stage. I mean, he started bombing and just walked off stage, and it was. What was so interesting about that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So the night in Nashville is not something that even but they didn't, it was scripted, and they knew the material they were going to do, even though it seemed so natural, right? That's the thing, is they knew everything they were going to say. Like, I remember watching Rita Rudner in the 90s.
Rita Rudner.
I loved her.
Yeah.
I thought she was hilarious.
A great writer.
Yeah.
I don't plan to grow old gracefully. I plan to have facelifts so my ears meet, and I have to answer a telephone like this.
She was like Stephen Wright, how she wrote.
Absolutely brilliant. But again, like those, like she was, you can't, like Wendy Liebman. I opened for Wendy Liebman, and people would yell at her, and the bit was, so I introduced her. She came on stage and she said, I found $20, and someone yelled out, "It's mine!"
Oh boy.
And she goes, in my bra, and he goes, "Yep, that's mine." Right? And then he goes, and then she says, "It was all in quarters." "Yep, that's mine." Like, just kept yelling. She walked off stage. She came up to me. She goes, "Can you please reintroduce me and tell them that this is not an interactive show?"
Wow.
And I had to go do a few minutes of material to smooth that over. Yeah. Because it just wasn't what she, I mean, I'm imagining now she does, but that was the 90s. She just won Best Female Comic on Comedy Central. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean,
I thought Pryor did some crowd work, though.
He did.
But not for a special, though.
No, but like work. Now, they said Pryor would go up with just a concept, an idea, and work stuff out on stage. And then sometimes he would interact. For me, I love crowd work if it's like you were saying, you get to a bit, you get to something that's really a routine or something. Yeah, when it's just somebody up there asking somebody what they do for a living and interviewing, then that's just, you know, is that what you came up?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or then, did you do crowd work?
A little bit, not much.
Because Bert wanted us to.
Yeah.
He wanted us to like do the birthday thing and like, you know, ask about all that stuff.
Oh, as the host.
Which is why he loved Pat McGann so much.
Yeah.
Pat McGann is like, he is masterful.
Man,
at the crowd.
Pat McGann is so quick and witty.
That's not what I do.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, I like seeing anybody be good at something.
Yes.
I don't care what it is. If it's crowd work, if you're up there on a unicycle, if it's good.
Bobby Hunt. At the Improv, Bobby Hunt used to juggle on the You never saw him?
No, I never saw Bobby. No. Okay, well, yeah. So that's the thing for me. It's like, if you suck at crowd work, then I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But if you're doing something like that and you get to some bits, you know, because that's jazz, man. I mean, cats up there and they're improvising.
Yeah, that's how Second City wrote all their sketches. They'd start by improvising, and then something good would come out of it. And 9 out of 10 times, nothing would come out of it. But when something good came, then that would be what turns into a sketch.
Yeah.
And I do think you could do that Croatia-Serbia thing.
Too, man.
Actually, as I was saying it out loud, I'm like, I probably could have done more.
Oh, no, we all think that.
Turn that into something. And if you ever do comedy in Europe, then that's your opener or closer.
Now I feel like riffing and workshopping this.
Geography.
I feel like workshopping this. It would be like, you know, lakefront in Chicago, and you say like Edgewater can't use the beach. You know? In Chicago, I'm just
If you look at maps, everyone, you'll understand why a lot of war happened. You'll be like, oh, that no wonder. A lot of it makes sense.
And who won said war?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let me pull up a call because I know that Dwayne wants to do a check-in with Jim. But Jim from Chicago's on the line. Hey, Jim, what's up?
Hi, Patty. All you need is one more guest. You got a full court basketball squad there. Anyway, I was wondering, what do you think about this blackout on social media that you're 16 in Australia? I know that Musk was very unhappy about it. He said that's dirty pool, and the Prime Minister of Australia said, well, he's got an agenda. Of course, you know he's got an agenda. He wants to steal as much money as he possibly can while he's still breathing. But what
and also manipulate them. He also wants to be able to manipulate them as early as possible.
Oh, certainly. He wants to make reliable consumers out of them, just like the rest of us. But what do you gentlemen, or Patty, what do you think are the benefits of that? Do you think that there's, just the pros and cons of it? I don't use it myself, but the pros and cons of a kid is 16, that you think that's, why do you think they came up with that number, et cetera? You follow me?
Well, I guess it would be the same question as to why we make 16 the driving age. It's sort of that balance between adolescence and somewhat moving towards adulthood. But I don't know how it's enforceable. I wish that I could claw back some of the experiences that kids have had. Obviously, there have been suicides because they get bullied online, and the kids put so much out there, and then I don't know where this leads for them throughout their adulthoods. It also messes with their attention span, with their focus, with their level of getting information. What do you think, Jeff?
I think it should be 18
in
America. I think we should do 18. You talked about suicide rates. There's this great documentary called The Social Dilemma that was on Netflix. And they showed the suicide rates among teenage girls from 1950 to 2009 was a flat line. And the reason they chose 2009 was because that was the first year the Facebook app became available on phones. And they show how they manipulate with your phones. You ever notice you don't check an app for a while, all of a sudden you get a notification being like, hey, well, where you been? One of your buddies just liked to post. Maybe you should check that out because they're trying to get you back.
Right.
And that's what Facebook kind of did with Facebook Marketplace, Facebook, dating apps. They have dating apps now. Facebook has made it where they want it to be the only website you ever go to.
Right.
As comedians, we know when we share a link to ticket sales, Facebook will bury that because a ticket link takes you away from Facebook. A YouTube link takes you away from Facebook. They don't want anyone to ever be taken away from Facebook, which is why they started setting up their own videos. I think it should be 18 because it's more harmful than cigarettes to your mental health. It's more harmful than alcohol. I really do believe it's that bad, and it is like a public health thing, what it's doing to teenagers. It's messing up their self-worth, cyberbullying. I can't think of one positive that social media before the age of 18 brings to anybody.
Yeah, and there was... Go ahead, Jim. No, you go.
But I was going to say, I was giving an example. I came out of my shrink's office, and I was dying for a drink, so I went to get a beer. It was like maybe 10:30 in the morning. And there's three guys at the bar, and everybody, all three of them are staring at their phones. So I said, I ordered a beer. I said, "Were we invaded by outer space?" I mean, let me know. I'll start. I'll put my helmet. I'll put my helmet on and start running down the street.
Hey Jim, where do you keep your helmet?
I keep my helmet at a safe spot. I don't want to tell you, Dwayne, just in case it's me and you against the world. Who knows? I got a pretty hard head, so I can let you use it for about 12 hours, but I'd have to get it back. But anyway,
I want to know where you drink. What bars do you go to? He's not going to tell us.
This was an Irish joint that opened up early in the morning. I knew the owner, but the thing was, I mean, the sociability is gone. I mean, it's just gone. It doesn't even exist. These kids are on the phone, and and I mentioned so about the Chubbies. They go, "Ooh, the Chubbies are going to win," and I'm like, "Okay, guys, well, it says it right here." I'm like, "Well, good. I'm glad you get the information." But I think my point being that conversation, the intercourse of conversation, what used to be so much fun. Yeah. And when you get kids and people, and they don't know how to, because that's where we really explore each other in a conversation. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, I agree with you guys. You guys have a great show. Great hearing from you. And thanks, man. Thank you, your guest. Thanks so much.
Take care, Jim.
Take care.
Yeah, I was in a coffee shop, and every single person there was just on their phone, taking selfies of themselves, and there were groups of people together, but everyone was separate. Everyone was just doing their own thing with their phone, and that seems to take priority. So whoever, it reminds me of when you are like shopping at a store, and you're waiting in line, and you get up to the counter, and then the phone rings, and they're like, I'm gonna go to the person who called on the phone rather than you who took the time to come here. Yep. It's like, why is it less valuable to actually be there in front of somebody?
Well, the drive-thru takes precedent too at places.
Yeah.
I've gone to order on the inside, and I'm like, why do you have 8 people working the drive-thru and 1 person for the rest of us? Yeah, it's annoying. I will say, for the sake of conversation, for hopefully good radio, I have been at places like a bar or a coffee shop on my phone, and I'm reading newspaper articles.
Oh, there you go.
And I think to myself, if I was reading a newspaper right now, nobody would think I was being antisocial. They're like, oh, this guy's sitting by himself reading the paper. Yeah. But if I'm on my phone, people look at that differently for some reason. I'm with you. I do that too. I'll see people on their phones, and I think to myself, like, come on, communicate with each other. But then again, it might just be a couple reading the newspaper while they're waiting for their breakfast to come out.
Right.
There's something different about that.
That's Rockwellian America to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now you got to buy a newspaper and just throw everybody off. Where'd you get that?
That's even more of a relic.
I saw a newspaper today in our office at the State of Illinois building, and I was like, I felt so cool. It was like in our cafeteria. I'm like, I want to read this.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
The tactile.
Yeah. I took 2 buses and a train to get to Lane Tech from this neighborhood, like north of here. Mm-hmm. So I had and the Sun Times is always my favorite, because then you have all those sections flying around on the bus. And then when Red Eye came out, that was wonderful. I have a free newspaper with what's going on in the city. Yeah.
Did we just see the Sun Times is now going to become a casino? The Sun Times building, or the Tribune building?
Oh, the building, yes. They'll pay where they used to make the papers. Yeah, they used to print them. Yeah, that's, I don't know about that. The Shrine Temple, the Medina Temple has been a casino. I don't know that we have a need for it. The whole idea behind it was to create jobs and revenue. But we keep creating revenue, and it doesn't seem to make a dent in all of the, focus on what the solutions are. And then let's talk about paying for it. I mean, I'm a lifelong Chicagoan. I'm not, and this comes back to you talking about socialist Democrats. Scott, you mentioned this. Yeah. There was an alderman, Carlos Rosa, and I got into an argument 10 years ago. And I said, you're letting the language, same thing, you're letting the language work against you. People are not going to vote for you if you say you're a socialist Democrat. And he told me, he said, well, that's just older people when they die off. Like, dude, at the time I was like in my 40s, I'm like, I'm going to be here for 40 years. Why don't you win me over?
Right.
Yeah. And that's
when technology, and this is going to sound real geezery, but we say social media has created so many fractures in society and isolated people, but I think it even started with like cable television.
Oh, absolutely. Because we didn't have the same things to talk about, the same shows to talk about. The same
show, right.
Yeah.
And then the shows that they would put on to appeal to you on cable would be a show I wouldn't want to watch with my mother or father. You know what I mean? Some shows, I don't want to sit there next to them watching, you know what I mean? So everybody now goes to their separate rooms.
Yes.
Everybody's got a television because nobody wants to, or, you know, now it's also there on their phone. But
basically, everybody watched Johnny Carson. So the next day, everybody could talk about Johnny Carson. Yeah. Then it's split in half. Everybody either watched Leno or Letterman, and then now those things don't even exist anymore. There's millions of different things to watch, and so nobody really has any of that common ground. There's no water cooler talk
or things that you would even. I mean, and even if you and your whomever, your father, your mother, your sister, whomever, you know, you could at least sit in front of Johnny Carson together. Maybe one would enjoy, one wouldn't, but to sit there and on something cable and somebody's, you know, this, not to sound like a prude or prurient, but the sex or the what is this? I just don't want to sit
and
there.
Violence.
And the violence, you know.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that my husband hates when I'm on my phone when we're watching something because it's like our time together is, you know, after my show we have dinner and we watch something. He'll pause the show if I'm not paying attention. He's like, "Are you watching?" I'm like, "You're right. I'll put that away."
Yeah.
But I really like I said yesterday all day. I didn't even realize it till Matt called that yesterday I had not paid any attention to what was going on social media in just minutes after this CEO of United Healthcare was killed. And it was and then I saw it today. I was like, "Whoa!" It was intense.
It was crazy. That was like we talked about a little bit off air as far as the jokes go. Yeah, people could say whatever they want, and I think with certain jobs, like because it says more about how people feel about healthcare in this country. Because that guy has a family, and I don't know everything that guy's done, but the idea of the CEO and CEOs of health insurance companies, of banks, of pharmaceutical companies, they're looked at as the enemy by a good half of this country, even more than half of this country.
Well, and that's what I was thinking about was this idea that we talked about how billionaires and corporations have basically hijacked the country, right? And this has been this slow slog since Reagan cut the corporate taxes and the taxes on the wealthiest, and then the wages have been suppressed, and unions were also marginalized, and Elon Musk was laughing. They were laughing about firing workers who were threatening to strike. I mean, this is where we are, and I was wondering if this is because of what I saw on social media. I didn't realize that there are people that have that rage because we are on the precipice of millions of people not being able to afford health care, possibly not being able to have health care up to 26 on your parents' plan, people with pre-existing conditions. I mean, and then Medicare and Medicaid for the elderly, the disabled. I mean, like we are in. Hi, everybody. Everyone's like,
it could be just the start when you think
this
about
is just,
it.
I mean, like,
absolutely.
If that guy was angry yesterday morning, I mean, like, I'm trying to remember the number because I do research on this. Where we have it right now with the Affordable Care Act and the different levels you can purchase, like the bare minimum, they try to make it so it's not more than 9% of your total income, right? So if you're living below the poverty rate, they try to make it like a slidable scale. Trump's plan, Elon Musk's plan, all these guys, RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz, they want to make it 20% of your income is your health care costs. And,
what?
And here's the thing: if every single American paid $2,000 more in taxes, everybody could have health care, and you're not paying $8,000 for your deductible for all the other stuff.
Maybe.
I mean, like that's what it would be.
Yeah. Why? I mean, why? Why are these cats so? Why do they seem to just hate humanity?
They're sociopaths. I really believe that.
Yeah. That's what it is, Joe. That's what it is. That's what it is. They're
obsessed with watching the numbers go up. Because any normal person, you know what I mean? Like, if I got offered a gig tomorrow where I got $50,000,
yeah,
I would be
Who
saying
books that?
I know, right? But then say the next week I was offered a pretty good check, maybe $5,000, but it's a room I heard is terrible, awful people run it, all that. I'd say no.
Right.
They can't say no to anything because they just want to keep watching the numbers go up. It happens all the time. To use a local reference, Wrigley Field, all those buildings are not privately owned anymore. There's one privately owned building, and that building now all of a sudden has a bad view. Why? Well, because you need more?
Right.
You're not satisfied with enough? It's never enough. See, there's something, and there has to be something wrong with you to think like that.
I agree. To want to hoard that much and to take that much from other people. We don't need more billionaires in this country.
Right.
We just don't. and now they have all the power, and they're going to consolidate it, and it's
you know who's the one good billionaire in this country? I'm sure there's more than one.
More than one, yeah, but
Mackenzie Scott.
Oh yeah, Bill Gates' ex-wife.
Bezos'
Bezos. Sorry,
yeah.
Melinda's still married to Gates, right?
No, she's divorced too.
Yeah. And they're
Melinda
both philanthropists, right? Yes.
But she's given more proportionately for the time that she's been a billionaire on her own than some billionaires have contributed, like for all of their lives. She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we can't get this done through philanthropy, though.
No. It has to be policy.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Huh?
You ever see that really funny meme about it where it's like, no more billionaires. If someone hits 999 million, we give them an award saying you won capitalism, and then we'll name a dog park after you. And every dollar you make after that's getting 100% taxed.
Man.
Yeah.
How much money would you need? How much money would you need to live the way you'd like to live in your life? How much?
Like per year or forever?
Per year.
Per year, sure.
Yeah.
I'm a simple guy. I really am. I like cheap beer. I like going to thrift stores. I genuinely do. And I know people are like, but if you had a lot of money, you'd go to the real store. No, I like going to a thrift store because you get some finds. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You go through and you're like, oh, this shirt's so cool. I would never find this anywhere. What is this, a Mario Kart shirt from 1996? This is cool. I'm going to wear this even though I'm 40. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, I don't know what the number would be. Give me $75,000. I don't know.
Okay.
A year.
Yeah,
I would like. They say that's the number where your happiness goes up or down or whatever.
I've heard between $70,000 and $80,000.
But of course, there are but you also want to get what you're worth.
Yeah,
you know that's the one thing about
Joe.
people. Oh, thank you. There are a lot of people out there who kind of have this idea that in a society where taxes are just, there's no commerce. Mm-hmm. Like going back to Bernie calling himself a social democrat or socialist democrat, there's still commerce there. You can still make as much money as you want. We just think that you should be taxed appropriately and pay your fair share. That way we can help with the roads and the bridges and education, and healthcare and the military and all these other things. I think
like
that's
in
what it comes
Europe,
down to.
they're taxed more. My girlfriend's European, and she thinks it's an honor to pay taxes. And that's certainly not how most people think here. That I know, especially people. And you do pay more into public health care there, but everybody's taken care of, and there aren't tents all over the place with homeless people.
Man. How much would you need, Patty?
I was just writing down the numbers. Well, because I would need to pay. What my dream would be is to be able to have a full-time caregiver for Declan, because as Steve and I get older, it'll be harder for us to do all the things we do with him. So I want to be able to pay somebody at least $100,000 to do that, because it's like a lot of work, right?
That makes sense.
So for us, I think, you know, to feel like we are also leaving something behind for him and for Griffin, I think I would need like maybe $350,000 to $450,000, $100,000
per year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably in that. I think I would want. 250,000, 300, something like that.
Oh, I want that too.
Yeah, you should go to a signer who's like, I got a nice place in Union Ridge.
Well, I tell you,
that's about how much I owe on my mortgage, $250,000. So it's like, you know,
pay off your mortgage,
pay off the mortgage, and then.
But this is also,
and then get a summer house in Wisconsin. I mean,
this is for me though, and people that I care for. That's what I think about. Less so for me, because my needs are simple, but the people that I care for that are in need.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
Oh, in that case, I want $1 billion so I could do a bunch of amazing things with it.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because I really do think that's the craziest part too, and it shows you how sad these people are. Not one of them has tried to be Batman. Not one of you have tried to be Iron Man.
Everybody's trying to be the Riddler.
This was what I've been saying for the last few months. I just now, when I watch James Bond movies, I didn't realize people wanted to be the villain, that they were cheering for that guy.
You always say that.
That I didn't, like in the comic book villains. I just thought, comic book villains are kind of cool. Some of them are a little bit.
Well, they're all voting for the senator who tries to kill off the X-Men, right? They're all voting. They're always voting for the wrong side of everything, and they misinterpret everything too. Like they all think Captain America would be on their team. No, Captain America, if you read the comic books, was very much against all of the stuff like that. He was against he was like for the people, and if the establishment was wielding too much power, he would let them know.
Yeah.
Let's take a break here. We're going to come back with Matt McNeil, the host of the Matt McNeil Show here on WCPT evenings at 9, because he's a host out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. More after this on I already said WCPT. Let's come back in a minute.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and I told our next guest that we were going to have a comedian in the studio with us, and then it's like the Gremlins after midnight. I gave him some water, and now they're multiplying. I have Joe Kilgallon, comedian Joe Kilgallon. He'll be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night in Glenview, and Scott Perlman, who's the producer, writer, director of the film Out of the Loop, along with Dwayne Kennedy and Michael Alexander. You can find that streaming wherever you stream your entertainment. And you have a little segment in there where I pay tribute to Diana Lima, one of the only women headliners. The other thing was that there were only 2 women headliners at the time, Scott. There was only
her and Sonia White.
That was it.
Yeah,
there were
crazy.
only 2. Right. And then she died, and then I was like, that's not how I wanted to become a headliner. So that was really sad. And Dwayne Kennedy, who will be at the Kenosha Comedy Club this Friday, and then at the Synergy Center in Wheeling. And on the line with us is the host of the Matt McNeil Show. Matt McNeil, you can hear him on WCPT here at 9 p.m. But you can also listen to his show, like when you're not listening to us, listen to his full show online. Matt, I haven't spoken to you since the election. I think we've been avoiding each other because we don't know how to have this pity party on the air, or rage fest. I don't know which one.
I'm so glad we have a lot of comedians with us to talk about such an upbeat, happy topic. Well, it's been fine. I'm doing okay. How are you doing? We all okay?
Yeah, we're great.
Okay, great.
We're great.
Good.
Well, let me start here. You're a veteran, right? And we've talked a lot about veterans and their tendency towards being conservatives. And now that we have this guy Hegseth, who has been named to run the Pentagon, right? What was the latest thing today? After all the allegations of rape, he charged a stripper's stage, had to be removed. His mother's like, no, he's a terrible person.
His mom.
and then today he basically said, if you put me in charge of the Pentagon, I promise I'll never drink again, which is the most alcoholic thing an alcoholic can say.
I believe it.
I won't hit you again, honey.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds
like. So how do the men and women in uniform, are they still like, no, it sounds like a good idea? I mean, what are we doing here, Matt?
Well, his mom called me and told me he's a fine boy. He's a punk-ass jackass. Okay, let's call it what it is. The one today, I don't know if you saw this one today. He was in charge of 2 veterans groups to help out veterans, and he bankrupted both of them through bad fiscal management. He is horrible. I mean, he has sexual assault allegations. His own mom. Think about that. His own mom calls him out for as bad as he is. He's a drunk. He took a bunch of coworkers, including women, to a strip club, then proceeded to get so damn drunk that he was trying to climb on the stage. And yet here comes the Republican saying he's got I like the cut of his jib. Who takes your who's the boss that says, hey, guys, I got a great idea for the holiday party. We're going to a strip club. And all the women, everyone goes there. I mean, who does that, let alone gets schnocker drunk and then tries to get on the stage with the strippers? I mean, he's just – I really worry about him being in charge of a spoon, let alone the Department of Defense.
By the way, a comedy club owner would do everything you just described.
Correct. Can
but
verify.
We don't want them running the Department of Defense.
Right.
Can verify. By the way, the strip clubs in South Dakota, they're not allowed to show their nipples, so they use Band-Aids as X marks on there. Anyway, it's a true story. But what I don't understand is why is there no retention of information or like a cognizance of hypocrisy amongst conservatives? Are we still just owning the libs? Is this all we're doing still?
Well, I think it's fear of Trump, and I think that the idea of the thing is, I do not think Hegseth has a chance. I mean, Joni Ernst came out today and even said, no, I'm not going to vote for him. And I mean, if you've got Susan Collins,
go ahead.
Well, no, yeah, you're right. She was, there is that possibility. DeSantis is being mentioned, but there could be that. But I mean, I just think that when you look at him, I think it's just this is Republicans drooling over an old concentration game trying to jam the square peg into the round hole. And whether that's because of fear of Trump or if they're just complete dumbasses and he thinks this guy is good. And sorry if my language is a little rough, but I mean, if he thinks that that's good, you don't mess around with the military. The military is, as a veteran, the military is brilliant. You tell them to jump, they say how high. What you don't do is you don't put guys like him in charge of it, because that's how you get into really big problems and people dying for false causes. And so I think it's so important that we kind of have to look. I mean, I am livid. I mean, I as a veteran, I am livid that someone like this is being put into play. I can't even imagine what the Navy boys feel like with a guy who never served. I can't remember the guy's name. They want to put him in charge of the Navy. Never served one day in the Navy. How is that possible? And yet these Republicans, because they have it, let's just call it what it is. Their true God is Trump. They have put him over country. They have put him over religion. They have put them over everything. And they, if Trump says that it's great, then they agree with it. And if you're a veteran right now, this is scary. And it should also be mentioned, and one of the things that's not been talked about with Hegseth is he was a champion of cutting veterans, services. He felt as if veterans getting the benefits they earned on the battlefield or in service was creating a socialist society, and that he wanted to cut those benefits. This was a few years ago. He's trying to change his tune now, but you don't do that to veterans. I have been to veterans homes in Minneapolis. I have been in Boston. I've been in Chicago. I have been to veterans homes, and I have seen the veterans that are there. And the reality is they're on fixed incomes. They are surviving because of the benefits they got. You want to cut them, then the first thing I keep thinking about is skyrocketing homeless vets. And I think that is not something we want to see in this country. So, there's a million reasons, no matter what his mom says, there are a million reasons why we should not be voting for this guy.
You mentioned, the fixed income aspect of veterans, and we know that this across the board seems to be the goal of basically all these billionaires. I can't remember the number I saw today about how much all these cabinet picks are worth. It's like $544 billion combined. It's something crazy. And the fact that they want to destabilize our already vulnerable safety nets, right? Whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, all the programs that people depend on, SNAP benefits, WIC benefits, and then Elon Musk says he wants to pull Social Security up by its roots. He wants. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Right. I get back to what is the end game? What are they trying to create or cause? That's what I don't understand, because you've got to know that you are destabilizing society by doing that in a profound way. So what's the goal? I don't get it.
Any thoughts, Matt?
Well, that's it. That's it. They're destabilizing society. They are looking, these guys, these billionaires want to create themselves as a new form of monarchy. This is that the haves and the have-nots. I think if I can, one side tangent here and you'll understand this. A few years back, George W. Bush demanded that the post office fund the pensions for 75 years, creating this massive ball of cash that no other government department ever had to do. The post office had to put 75 years of pre-funded pension out there. So people that weren't even born yet had their pensions already paid for. They did this not because they were trying to make the post office better. They did this so that when they eventually take down the post office, they can take that pension money and give it to the millionaires and billionaires and say thank you very much. Elon Musk, he spent $44 billion on Twitter, drove it into the ground, and the reason why he did that is now he's looking at hundreds of billions of dollars worth of government contracts that he is going to have exclusivity over. That's what it's all about. This is about the redistribution of wealth on a massive grand scale. This is what the Reagan administration did, and only now it's on steroids courtesy of Elon Musk, where these millionaires and billionaires feel as if all of us should not have anything and they should have everything. So you're right. What is their end game? It doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't, unless you're a rich person who basically wants to screw over the rest of us.
Yeah.
I remember the post office thing because that was 2006, I want to believe. It was during Bush's second term. It was around that time, I think. And it was mainly so everything you said was correct, and it was so they could say, look, it loses money.
Yes, that's right.
So they could try to privatize more things. Right. And the post office had made money, had made a profit for a long time. Even with stamps being as cheap as they were forever, the post office was very effective. It was government done right for a long time. I could write a letter and give it to someone, and 2 days later it's in California. And what, for 45 cents for a long time? That's a great example of government working well, and that's one of the big reasons that it was targeted.
Well, NASA, schools, healthcare. I mean, jails, prisons, all of these, what has happened is we can do this as a country a lot cheaper, a lot more cost effectively through the government services. But what we've done is we've taken the ball of cash that was meant for the government to do it, and it costs us a lot more, and we get a worse product courtesy of these millionaires and billionaires because they just have to keep us happy enough. They don't have to deliver. They just have to keep us happy enough, and they're very good at that. And so it is kind of terrifying when you realize what they're proposing. The good news is I really honestly don't feel – I mean, the Senate Republicans, there's a lot that do not like where this is going, and I don't think they have any intention of – they'd have to cut Social Security. They'd have to cut Medicaid. They'd have to cut Medicare. They'd have to cut those three. They'd probably have to cut the Defense Department pretty dramatically too, and I think there's more than 10 or so Republicans that do not have an appetite for that. So at least some of this stuff might not happen, but I guarantee you they're going to pass that Trump-era tax cut, and that's going to create a bigger deficit.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
I know Matt has a way of laying things out. You go, I'm just going to go make some.
Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
You mentioned that you want to create their monarchy, the haves and the have-nots. I mean, but I think essentially we've kind of been living in a feudal system for quite a while. I remember you said a joke that never worked was that when you go looking at houses, you're not looking at a house you can afford. You're looking at houses the bank will let you have.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's just a chuckle.
No, it's a good one. I look at it a little bit like we used to have company towns in this country where basically the wealthy guy owned the town, owned the houses, owned the bank, owned the grocery store, owned everything. Right. And if you dared get out of line, you didn't work your 90 hours a week, well, all of a sudden you couldn't get the money out of your bank and we're going to run you out of town. Yep. That's what they want to go back to. They want to go back to the age of the gilded mansions on the hill looking down upon the heathens that work for them. And frankly, Donald Trump is more than happy to help them do it.
Yeah.
And so are all of the white voters, the majority of Latino men who are, that sounds good to them to have. Yeah.
Well, and they're buying all of his merchandise and just contributing to his wealth, and it's just insane.
Yeah. Well, until things collapse. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, but they'll be fine, and we won't. And people,
right. Well,
yeah.
I mean,
until the French Revolution.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. Then it'll be, and people will just, it will become nihilism, and then now it's just going to be chaos in the streets.
Do you think the other CEOs
I'm just going to lighten it up really quick. This is the doom and gloom hour. What I'll say is this: how stupid of a Donald Trump is it that he hasn't gone with the obvious endorsement deal, the orange juicer? How dumb is this guy? He's still a million of the damn things. Yeah. He could be out there like freaking Foreman saying, it matches my face, and now it's getting juiced. And, there's money to be made here.
That is true. He missed the ball on that one.
When the gold gym shoes came out, I was just like, what are we doing here?
Well, what I was going to say was, if you're the CEO of Aetna, are you feeling very good right now?
Yeah, right.
If you're the CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield, are you not doubling your detail?
Right.
That's
right.
what you might see more and more things like this. Yeah. Especially, Patty and I, you and I have talked about, like, how could these people vote? They're union people, and yet they voted for Trump, who's anti-union. How did they do that? And it's distraction. It's like, oh, well, we don't think unions are okay, but do you know who's going to the bathroom with your daughter? Have you heard this? And they scare them into voting for that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? All of a sudden, everyone became the biggest fan of women's sports over the last 4 years. It's incredible. Like, every bar is now showing women swimming. Did you know that? It's true. It's not true, of course. But, like, that's what happens. They distract voters with all these other issues.
Because of Riley Gaines. She's the swimmer that she's a big speaker on the conservative circuit. We've talked about Mark Paoletta before, Matt, haven't we? He's Ginny Thomas's lawyer. He was almost going to be the attorney general, and maybe I've seen him at too many Thanksgiving dinners. I sometimes, he's my brother-in-law. I sometimes will go to his Twitter account when there's a bad news day for Republicans, and without fail, every single time he's got a Riley Gaines story or a transgender story. It's always like, go to that every single time.
Of course,
it's insane. So Matt, to Joe's point about CEOs, the other thing is, in addition to the assassination of the CEO from United Healthcare, on the same day, did you see the story break that there are some states for Blue Cross Blue Shield, if you have a surgery and the anesthesia goes past a certain point, they're not going to cover it. Did you see that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, the hammer method of putting the person out. Yeah, I did see that. I always loved the Three Stooges. I didn't realize it was more of a medical school thing, but, No, by the way, I want to mention this. United Health Group's corporate headquarters, is about a mile away from me right now. This town up here in the Twin Cities, it is, obviously a lot of people are paying attention to it and stuff like this. There is this real interesting, dynamic that's coming on out here where what this guy did was clearly horribly wrong. What he was doing was horribly, horribly wrong. But then you see what he wrote on the bullets, and, the health insurance industry bragged about what they do and doing this. And no one deserves what happened here. But when you guys did this and you guys are saying, we're going to not cover your anesthesia when you're getting knocked out, or we're going to look for ways to not cover pregnancies, or whatever the case may be, this affects human beings' lives. And I think the flippant mentality of talking about, we're going to basically fight you every tooth and nail to make sure we never pay for any of your medical bills and you're in debt for the rest of your life. These are human beings that are being affected by these insurance company policies. It doesn't justify any way gunning a guy down in the street. But if we don't start having discussions about, in the same sense as we should have a discussion about the humanity of not murdering somebody, we also should have a discussion about, should we really basically be dangling healthcare in front of people like it's a damn carrot in front of a mule?
Yeah.
And I don't think we should.
No. I forgot that United Healthcare was based out of Minnesota. And about Minnesota, how are folks feeling in the wake of the unfortunate loss of the Harris Walls ticket?
Yeah, I got news for you. We're happy we got him back.
Oh,
we got Tim Walz back. Thank you. He's been a great governor. I've said this. I really feel as if the failure. They should have leaned hard into Tim Walz's record. I mean, he was really the populist Democrat, and I think that was there. The idea. I understand there's nothing wrong with like a Liz Cheney or someone like that endorsing, a Harris there, but to make that basically the image of the party the last few weeks was, look at all these Republicans who are on board with us. I think it was Harry Truman made the comment. He said, if my choice is, a Republican or someone trying to pretend to be a Republican, I'm going to vote for the Republican every time. And I think the Democrats, this is just another one of those election cycles where we've done the same thing. We in 2018, 2020, 2022, we were proud Democrats. What happened? We won every time. What happens? 2016, 2010, 2024, we have these people that go on out there, and the first thing they do is they insist, we should be more. They'll let me sit with them at the lunch table if I just forsake the party platform and try to win over 20 Republican voters. And I think that this is what blows up in our face. Tim Walz actually has an amazing record, and what started off as fire and led into the convention, the people that made the decision to kind of not do that was unfortunate.
How did you feel about his debate performance?
I thought, I don't think he did that. I thought he did fine. I didn't think it was. No one is deciding who they're voting for on the vice presidential debate.
That's true.
I thought he did. I thought he did fine. I think Vance was. I felt there were more problems with Vance's performance than Walz's performance. But of course, once again, when you look at what the media was doing this entire election cycle, where Trump was a lovable scamp and Harris couldn't do anything right. I mean, the narrative that came on out right after that debate was far harsher on Walz than it needed to be, and it was far more forgiving of Vance than it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like when he was like, I kind of agree with it when the Walls would say, I kind of agree with him. Like, I didn't need that. That was, for me, just a little more pit bullish. I would have liked, and called him out on more stuff. And the things that J.D. Vance was saying on the stage,
Yes, he should have been fact-checking him.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I did love when J.D. Vance said, I was told there would be no fact-checking.
Yeah.
I was told I could lie without function.
Right.
Before we go, I know that, in Illinois, and part of my role is doing research on what I'm gaming it out a little bit as to what it could look like nationally, and then Governor Pritzker and other agencies throughout the state are trying to figure out and sort of barricade themselves essentially for what's next. Are you hearing anything out of Wisconsin and the legislature, or what their plans are to make sure that you guys protect human rights in the state of Minnesota?
They basically, first of all, Keith Ellison is our attorney general. He's already said, "Oh, the hell to the no," and so they're going to go there. They've got a lot of stuff that's in the state constitution that's not there. Now, does that mean we're not going to have the jerk brigade come in here and demand things? Well, they might do that, but at the same time, that the people that are in power right now they're not looking to go out of their way to help in any capacity the Trump administration to cause harm to other people. We are a sanctuary state. We're going to still be a sanctuary state. And, frankly, I feel I'm happy I'm in Minnesota. God, I can't even comprehend what it'd be like to be in frickin' Tennessee or Texas right now. Dear Lord. Yeah. But I'm glad I'm up in Minnesota, but at the same time, and, Illinois, you got good leadership there. It depends on, if these guys are really going for the brass fascist ring, well, then, we could all be in trouble. But, what I find will be interesting is I can't wait for the Supreme Court, that group of knuckleheads, to basically all of a sudden sit there and, as they've been saying, states' rights, states' rights, states' rights, as soon as they start passing bills in this administration saying, well, you know what, the states really have to follow what the federal government says. I just can't wait for that. But, we have to do this. This is the consequence of 120 million people not voting. And so we just got to eat this for the next 4 years, and off we go.
Oh, my God.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Let's catch up next week or the week after, depending on your schedule. Okay, my friend?
No problem. My absolute pleasure. I love chatting with you guys. Hey, gentlemen, nice chatting with you as well.
Great chatting with you.
Thanks, Matt. That's Matt McNeil. You hear him here Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. But, of course, you can listen to his full show. What's the KTNF AM950 website? Is it KTNFAM950.com?
AM950radio.com, AM950radio.com, and if I can, Patty,
of course,
my brand new 2025 calendar is out. No, it's not nude. They're tasteful, but it's my park pictures that I put out. It's the 5th calendar we've done. AM950radio.com. You have all the information there.
Awesome. Pick up one of his calendars. I should do a calendar also of hot dog joints in Chicago, or dive bars, or pizza joints. We'll figure it out.
All of it. A different one, a different month.
Exactly.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, to answer the question before, I think I'd like to make $1 billion a year so I become a relevant American.
There you go. Oh, yeah, we didn't ask Scott.
Right. We're going,
Wait, what was your number? How much would you have to make, Matt, before we let you go?
Oh, how much? Seriously, $50 million, you'll never see me again. Swear to God. You won't even know. I'll have a cabin someplace, and good luck with all that.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let me go fishing with you up there then, too. Bye, Matt.
Anytime.
Have a good night. Thank you. Let me just run this quick. I have to do the station ID, and I think I'm all caught up on everything else. Oh. Wait, did that echo? Oh, I'm sorry. WCPT 820 Willow Springs, and live on Twitter and Facebook. We do need to wrap up. I want to thank my guests for coming in studio. Dwayne Kennedy will be performing the Emmy Award-winning Dwayne Kennedy for his work on United Shades of America with Kamal Bell on CNN.
I don't know how that happened.
Stop. It was a great show, and he will be at the Kenosha Comedy Club this Friday night. And you go to happeningsmagazine.com to get ticket information. And Synergy in Wheeling on Saturday night. Joe Kilgallon will be at the Laughing Academy tomorrow night in Glenview. Also go to both of the social media platforms. What
Joe's probably got stuff on his social media.
At Joe Kilgallon, KILGALLON, and Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just type my name in all those and it'll pop up.
And Dwayne Kennedy on Facebook. I've seen your posts on
Facebook. And Instagram soon to come to start posting stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna hold each other accountable. People
come
work
on,
out
Patty.
together. I'm just saying. Scott Perlman, do you have a social media?
I'm not terribly active. I need to do more. But you could also watch a movie I made called Andover on all the same sites, ANDOVER, and Out of the Loop.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much. And now you're heading back to, where are you in town for a while?
I'm figuring out things right now. There's a project that find some wood to knock on. Will determine how it progresses, where I go from here.
Okay.
He's working on a movie.
Gotcha. Exciting. Well, I have to find out who the star is that you're trying to get. And are you traveling anytime soon? Are you guys, Joe, are you on the road at all? Oh, you got a baby. You can't go anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere until January and February and March.
All right.
Yeah, same with me.
So you're staying put?
I'm in the area. Yeah, and then I'll be touring.
That's right, with Kamal Bell.
Yeah.
Excellent. And you'll be in Chicago in April. We're very excited about that. At the Den Theater on April 25th and 26th.
Yeah.
Well, Lady B, Sheila, thank you so much for everything.
All right, Lady B.
Thank you. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil, who you just heard. It'll be like meta. Bye, everybody.